Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. The semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League are here, and Arsenal take on PSG on the 29th of April in the first leg, and of course we shall also play them in May for the second leg. Arsenal are 2 games away from the finals of the UCL. The last time we were there was 2006, and we still had Thierry Daniel Henry. Can Arsenal do it against PSG? We're going to find out in this video, because we're going to be diving into the strengths of PSG, the weaknesses of this team as well, and we shall also talk about how Arsenal can hurt PSG, but also how PSG could hurt this Arsenal team. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Let me know in the comment box below, how are we feeling towards Tuesday? I am a little bit nervous, but I'm also confident. I think I'm confident because PSG obviously are not Real Madrid. Their pedigree is not as big as Real Madrid. But I'm a little bit scared because they're good. They're a good team. And let no one lie to you. Yes, we've beaten them before, but they are a very improved team, and they're a much better machine as compared to when Arsenal played them earlier on in the group stages of the UEFA Champions League. So PSG are kind of a different test as compared to PSV and Real Madrid. And I've said this before on the channel. Madrid were a very different kind of test for Arsenal. We are playing the best team in Europe. We're playing the team that everyone fears, everyone respects in Europe. If you play Real Madrid, there is a big chance you're going to be beaten. There is a big chance that Madrid will find a way. And therefore, Arsenal came into that game, first and foremost, fighting not to get beaten, fighting not to get beat. And what we saw across both legs was Madrid found it very difficult to break down Arsenal, to beat us, to find anything against us. Yes, this season, Arsenal's defense has been absolutely, fantastic. Our XG against is so little. Teams just don't create any chances against this. It's so difficult for teams to find a way against Arsenal. But I also think that we purposely came to make it difficult for Real Madrid. I mean, we came to frustrate Mbappe, we came to frustrate Rodrigo, we came to frustrate Vinicius Jr. We knew that if you gave them freedom, they will hurt you. And we knew the caliber of opponent we were going against. Now, why PSG is a different kind of test for Arsenal? They're not as high as Real Madrid in terms of ranking and the psychology and the emotions that they will bring into the squad. But then they're not as low as PSV. So you don't expect to go and do a job against them, maybe 7-0, maybe 6-0. You don't expect to do that, but you don't expect them to be as well drilled as Madrid. You don't expect them to be as a giant as Real Madrid. And that is why this game is gonna kind of be difficult for Arsenal. Because how do you deal with an intermediate team that deploys a low block, at times a mid block? That is Aston Villa, that is Newcastle, that is Fulham. We have seen Arsenal struggle against such sides. Sides that are not the top and sides that are not at the bottom. That is where PSG are in Europe. I don't really count them as this, giant, big team. And I think Arsenal will come to play their game, but is it dangerous? So, if you think about them, this is what their strength lies in, right? PSG are pace. They're all about pace. We've talked about PSG a number of times on the channel, and I think the one word that is actually cutting across every single video is pace, pace, pace. They've got skill, they've got speed, they've got pace. They have got pacey players. In that team, Achraf Hakimi could be faster than any other Arsenal player. But then, on top of that, you've got Bradley Barcola, you've got Kavichi Kvaratskhelia, you've got Ousmane Dembele, you've got Nuno Mendes. That is just best. We are talking about best. And of course, I've not talked about the likes of Desire Doué. So this PSG team prides in having pace. And if you watch the second leg of the Aston Villa game versus PSG, you saw it. Villa committed a lot of numbers. They didn't have anything to lose. They had to come into that game, commit numbers, and score. They needed at least 2 goals in order for them to make the game progress to the extra 30 minutes. And what happened was PSG said, "All right, you guys are gonna go and score three. You're going to pin us back, but we're going to use our extraordinary pace in order to grab 2 goals." And that is what's happened. They used the pace of Hakimi, they used the pace of Nuno Mendes to run in behind. Now, one thing that I saw against Crystal Palace, Arsenal struggled when Ismail Sarr. You didn't watch that video. People didn't watch that video, but it was a very important video for this game. Arsenal struggled against Ismail Sarr, and we also struggled against Mateta. And those two players, when they were brought in by Oliver Glasner, they changed the strategy from let's kick it around to directness. They went for direct pass. They went for direct runs, and Arsenal's backline was absolutely torn apart. So I think PSG are gonna come into this game relying on this pace, knowing that Arsenal love this kind of dominance and control. They will pass the ball. They will have possession until the final third. So you have a lot of spaces to run into, and you have so many players that are willing to run from this PSG side. Hakimi can run, Nuno Mendes can run, Dembele runs, Bakola runs, Desire Doué can exploit that space in behind, and then you've got these midfielders that are young and have got the legs. Vitinha, João Neves, they're young, they've got the legs, they can go and just add to the pace of this team. The other thing that I've seen with PSG, they score goals. They really score. They've scored 5. They scored 5 against Aston Villa across both legs. And that tells you the story. They really score goals. They're a team that is not shy of scoring goals. And they're players that are wasteful. Dembele is extremely wasteful. Bakola is extremely wasteful. But they still find a way, and they really score a lot of goals. So the approach in games, you might think, is just counter-attacks. But that's not it. They play good football. They play, positional football. They change, they switch positions, and they do a couple of stuff. But they're so deadly when it comes to transitions and counter attacks. And Arsenal have got to be very careful, extra careful when it comes to PSG and counter attacks. When it comes to PSG and runs in behind, they will let you swing in corners. They will let you do whatever you want. But they will want to catch you on the break. And trust me, you don't want that. They are absolutely devastating on the break. Their wingers, their fullbacks are quite, the weapon. I've talked about them. So if Arsenal are going to beat PSG, we've got to deal with Achraf Hakimi and Nuno Mendes. And we've also got to deal with the wingers as well. The difference between Madrid and PSG, actually, as well, is Madrid have lightning quick wingers, and they've got star wingers, Vinicius and Mbappe and Rodrigo. But they do not have that support. They don't have that kind of support from the fullback. So think about this. Julian Timber and Achraf Hakimi is coming towards you with Kvaratskhelia. That is scary. Yes, Mbappe is scary, but Hakimi and Kvaratskhelia, that is scary. And then think about Lewis Kelly. You're having Nuno Mendes come against you, and then you're also having, let's say, Dembele, let's say Desire Doué. They're coming against you. They've got pace, they've got skill, they've got every element in their game to beat you when it comes to 1v1. So they'll look to create those overloads, especially in the wide areas. Mikel Arteta's got to be able to watch out for those ones if you're going to win. I think the one thing that I love about PSG, I admire about them, is they've got game-winning talent. They've got players that can go and win you the game. That is Dembele. That is Kvaratskhelia. That is Fabian Ruiz. That is Vitinha. They've got players that can go, fuck it, let me just go and do it myself. Right? And I think Arsenal, apart from Saka and maybe a Declan Rice that is starting to occupy that kind of role, we have not seen a lot of Arsenal players just go, damn, let me just go and do it myself. So Arsenal have got to be very careful. If the teamwork doesn't work out, and if the counter attacks don't work out and the transitions don't work out for PSG, they've got players that can just go and do it. Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, Kvaratskhelia, they can beat a man and they can score a solo goal. So Arsenal have got to be very careful about those as well. But it's not Arsenal only that have got to be careful. PSG have got to be very careful. Very careful. And the first thing that PSG have got to be very careful about is they've conceded 38% of the total goals they've conceded. They've been dead ball situations, set pieces, corners, free kicks, penalties, and the others. And Arsenal's already scored 27 goals this season. 27 goals this season from set pieces. If you're a PSG fan, if you're a PSG manager, one of the drills you're doing from the day you qualified and Arsenal qualified until today, you are practicing how to defend set pieces. I mean, what Arsenal have is we have about 3 or 4 players that are so fantastic at driving that ball from dead ball situations into the penalty area. Declan Rice, his technique is absolutely insane. Martin Odegaard, technical, quality player. And then you've got Bukayo Saka, absolute genius on the ball. So you have those 3 players, they are going to guarantee you quality delivery. And PSG as a team, what are they scared of? What are they afraid of dealing with? They're afraid of dealing with set pieces. So if I'm PSG, right about now, I am drilling on how to stop Arsenal from set pieces. And I think at this part of the competition, at this stage of the competition, it really doesn't matter what kind of goals you score. I mean, think about the final, Inter Milan versus Man City. Inter Milan created the best chances in that game. They had 1v1s, Lautaro Martinez had about 2 1v1s, and then Manchester City had to clear the ball off the line about 2 times because Romelu Lukaku practically failed to convert. But look at the goal that wins the game. It's an absolute beauty. Rodri's goal is an absolute beauty, no doubt about that. But look at the goal. It's a rebound. The ball has fallen into the penalty area. It ricochets kind of around there. It's failed to be cleared well, and then it falls onto Rodri. There's a small deflection. Onana is beaten 1-0, and Manchester City are champions. So at this stage of the UEFA Champions League, set pieces are going to be very key. And ugly goals and ugly performances are going to be absolutely key. You don't have to play so well in order for you to win. And we've seen Arsenal do this on a number of occasions. When we beat PSG 2-0, they had quite a couple of chances. They hit the woodwork twice, if not thrice, in that game. But Arsenal walked away with a clean sheet, and we also walked away with a win, with 3 points. So that tells you everything you need to know about this game. Arsenal have a weapon against PSG, and that is set pieces. Obviously, the other thing that Arsenal have, and we've displayed in the knockout stages, has been energy. But without Thomas Partey, Arsenal's energy in midfield is going to be cut short. I don't think Mikel Merino brings that kind of energy in midfield. I don't think Lewis Kelly brings that kind of energy in midfield as well. So Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard are going to have to work ×4 the way they did against Real Madrid. We need energy, energy, energy. For you to outrun this PSG team, they're young, they're motivated, they are in form, and they are willing to do anything for their manager. So for you to outrun them, you've got to work as hard as hell, honestly. Of course, Arsenal will bring the very good defense that we have seen this campaign, to the stage. I think PSG can find a way against this Arsenal team, but it won't be easy. So if Arsenal can combine the good defense, and then we add, you have the good defense, you add it to the set pieces, and then the dominance that we have seen from this Arsenal side, and a lot of energy. I think they beat PSG. I think we beat PSG, right? I think we will beat PSG, and I absolutely don't have a doubt about it. Now, the 2 weaknesses that I think Arsenal should exploit against PSG are, number 1, set pieces, like I said, and number 2, PSG fullbacks always are on the run. They're always high up the pitch. They're always bombing forward. And if they're not, Nuno Mendes is at times tucking into midfield, and Hakimi is always, bombing up and down. Now they've got the energy to recover, right? And their midfield is also young. They've got the energy to cover for their wingers and fullbacks. But Arsenal can exploit that. Exploit those spaces where Hakimi won't be. Exploit those spaces where Nuno Mendes won't be. And I tell you, PSG for me, they're good, but I hope they see this coming. I'm gonna predict an Arsenal finalist, and then we shall see between Barca and Milan who's gonna go through. But I simply think it's gonna be FC Barca. But let me know what you think about this in the comment box below. Hit the like button. See you.